Hi Nan, my name is Ellen and I'll be correcting this essay for you today. Let's take a look at what you've written here. This is the essay about people who have been in prison and if they're the best people to talk to youngsters about crime. Here's what you wrote. One of the serious problems in many countries is committing a crime, which brings some people into prison. However, after those people have completed the punishment, their behaviors are better and should be a good teacher for adolescents and societies to acknowledge the consequences of hurting others. In my opinion, I completely agree with this statement since ex-prisoners have experienced real situations and they can provide useful suggestions to prevent the circumstances. All right, this is pretty good. I have a little issue with this middle sentence here. Okay, primarily with this sentence. It was a little awkward. Basically, I felt like the language wasn't particularly natural. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Before we do that, let's talk about the first sentence, which again had a little awkwardness. It's not necessarily wrong, but there's awkwardness that makes the language feel a little unnatural and definitely not, how can I say this? One of the higher levels in terms of IELTS. So definitely not a 9, definitely not an 8. Maybe a 7. That remains to be seen, okay? But let's look at it. One of the serious problems in many countries is committing a crime, which brings some people into prison. You see, a native speaker would never use this kind of expression. We would say something different. So we would say something like, one serious problem in many countries is crime, which lands many people in prison. Okay? That's probably more natural, and that's probably more like what a native speaker would use in terms of choice of words and so forth. Okay? Now, here's the sentence, though, that I said, for me, felt a little in need of some rewriting. Let's look at it one more time, okay? However, after those people have completed the punishment, their behaviors are better and should be a good teacher for adolescents and societies to acknowledge the consequences of hurting others. Okay, I totally understand what you're saying here. And that's good. That means that there's no loss of coherence. But what we do have is, again, some language which is a little unnatural. So, however, after criminals have completed punishment, it has been found that often their behavior is better and they are the most appropriate teachers for adolescents to acknowledge the consequences of hurting others. So do you see what I did? I brought this idea of them being the best people. I said that many times their behavior it has improved and they've become good citizens. And basically, I rephrased it so that it's a better representation of what's here in the task, and that it brings up this idea of being the best people. Okay, so in my opinion, I completely agree with this statement. Since ex-prisoners have experienced real situations and they can also provide useful suggestions to prevent these circumstances. These referring back to this real situations, okay? Because when you say the circumstances, we're not clear which ones you mean. So this is an example of good coherence and cohesion, all right, with these circumstances referring back to this real situations here. All right, now let's take a look at your body paragraphs. First, people who have committed crime and are punished by being in prison. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. It's not that it's wrong exactly, but it could be phrased a little more accurately and a little more naturally. So, they are punished with a prison sentence is the most natural way of saying this. So, people who have committed a crime and are punished with a prison sentence are the ones who understand and tell true stories about what will happen after being arrested. These stories can be a good lesson for teenagers to be aware of the result, since the speaker knows well about the dangers of those actions. All right, here I would love an example. Therefore, children will certainly believe and not want to be similar situations with the speaker. For example, there we go. Numerous high schools in Thailand have organized seminars once a year to invite ex-prisoners to share the experience in prison, which makes students know what happens if they do. Not detrimental, that's the wrong word. You want illegal, you want unethical. That would have been a better word here. And what happens if they do illegal things and are afraid of the consequences. Okay, so I like this. I do feel, however, that the organization of your sentences was not entirely accurate. For example, do you remember when I said to you, okay, here, give me an example? This is what you should have done. So this sentence should have been moved up here. And then this sentence that started with the therefore really should have finished the paragraph. So I would have reversed these sentences. I would have had this support here after the dangers of those actions. This is really what you're explaining. You're giving more detail, you're giving more information. And then I would have finished the paragraph with this sentence, which really kind of wraps up your entire idea and in a sense links it back to your first sentence. Okay, so this is what we do, and you're probably wondering, well, why is this important? Who cares if my grammar, my vocabulary are good? Why does it matter? Well, it does matter because this is how you get a good score for coherence and cohesion. Okay, having appropriate, good, solid organization of your ideas, linking them together well. All right, there are several things that go into a good coherence and cohesion score, and this is one of them. Making sure that your ideas are logically organized and that they have a good progression. Okay, so that's why we're talking about this. So what I would have done is I would have taken this sentence and I would have put it at the end of the paragraph. Okay, all right, great. So let's move on. Moreover, those citizens also conceive root causes of problems which show what factors that encourage people to start aggressive and decide to kill or abuse others. All right, this sentence for me has a number of problems grammatically, lexically. It's unnatural in a number of areas. So, moreover, those citizens, now check this out. I like that you've tried to use this pronoun, this those here. Unfortunately, it's not clear to us what those is referring to because in the previous paragraph, you talked about two groups of people. You talked about criminals and you also talked about students. You talked about young people. So we don't know who those citizens are. When you're changing paragraphs like this, it is important to make it absolutely clear who you're referring to. I'm assuming you mean the former prisoners. So if that's what you mean and you don't want to use a word that you've used before, then we have to talk about some synonyms for criminals, okay? You could say ex-prisoners, former convicts. Basically, you have a couple of choices, ex or former, okay? And then you can add to that the word criminals, convicts, or prisoners. So ex-criminals, former criminals, ex-convicts, former convicts, ex-prisoners, former prisoners. Okay, so any one of those would be fine. All right, so let's move on. Moreover, ex-convicts also conceive root causes of problems which show what factors encourage people to start acting aggressively and decide to kill or abuse others. Okay, fine. In other words, these people can give suitable tips and suggestions not only for teenagers but also their parents, which can prevent crime. Okay, for example, many research papers found that people who have experienced detrimental events know effective ways to prevent those situations from happening again. Okay, I like what you're trying to do here. And the reason I like it is because I feel like you have some ideas and you are trying to express them. You suspect that maybe these ideas need a little more development, a little more explanation, illumination, what have you, and you try to do that. So I absolutely appreciate what you're trying to do. And I'm very happy about it actually. So you have the right idea. Quite frankly, though, I do think that you could have done exactly what you're doing here, but maybe a little more efficiently. All right, so let's see what you're saying here. What are you telling us? You're telling us essentially that these ex-convicts are the best people to talk about crimes because they understand from their own personal experience what has caused crime. Okay, this is what you're saying. And as a result of this personal experience, these people can give suitable tips and suggestions not only for teenagers, but also their parents, their teachers, their schools, and their community as a whole. Okay, so with this new insight, stakeholders like parents, schools, the community can take responsible and important measures to prevent crime from occurring. This is what I think you were trying to say. And then you could have really highlighted it even further by saying this this personal firsthand insight is what makes ex-criminals the best people to talk to teenagers about crime. All right, because then you wrap it all up like that and you bring it back to this idea of them being the best people to talk to teenagers. All right, so you were definitely on the right track. I absolutely understood where you were going, but I just, with my suggestions here, want you to take it to the next level. So you could see that the difference between what you said and what I said would be at least another band score, okay? But you were very close. You were definitely on the right track. So let's take a look at your conclusion. In conclusion, the best teachers, perfect. That's what you need to be focusing on. The best teachers to teach young people, not youth, young people to understand the consequences of committing a crime are adults who, careful with this, have gone through similar situations. This is what you mean. Since those people are credible to broadcast stories that influence teenagers and can provide good advice for... Ooh, all right, now, this is a good idea, but grammatically it has a problem. This is not a full sentence. This is just a fragment because you've got a dependent clause here and it's not attached to something that makes it a full independent sentence. So let's try it one more time, okay? In conclusion, the best teachers to teach young people about the consequences of committing crime are adults who have gone through similar situations. Full stop. This is because those people are credible sources to broadcast stories that influence teenagers and can provide good advice for societies to avoid those unfortunate events in the future. All right, so you've got, you know what I really like about this essay? That you've really understood a lot of the key components. You've gotten to the crux, you've gotten to the heart of what you need to do. But I think you just need a little push and a little support to really kind of pull everything together and get it in the format and get it where it needs to be. So that brings us pretty much to the end of this correction. I really thought you were on the right kind of path as far as task achievement is concerned. I definitely saw some good elements here. What we need to do is kind of, like I said, take everything together and hone it, really kind of develop it, let it kind of grow a little so it can become the kind of essay that will get you that high band score that I imagine you're looking for. You're going to receive in this email some links for ways to continue working with us. Definitely choose whichever one feels best for you, but I do think that the online course is going to be very helpful for you because it'll help you. You've got the right ideas. I can see you understand what the essay is asking you. what I think would help you is getting some support on how to kind of pull everything together and make it into a coherent and cohesive and well-developed essay. And that's the kind of information you're going to get on the course. So see if that's something that interests you, that's something that works for you. I would love to see you on the course. I'd love to see further essays from you. I'd love to help you get the IELTS score that you need. So hopefully we'll see you on the course. I hope so. I want to wish you lots of luck in your IELTS preparation, whether you decide to continue with us or not. So thanks for submitting the essay, and once again, best of luck to you.